Town Bank Mortgage, NMLS number 512138, is an equal housing lender. This podcast is for informational purposes only. And now, the man born with a 5 o'clock shadow and with the NMLS number 2028201. He is a gentleman. He is a scholar. He is
Tyler Cralle.
Well, unfortunately, I take that back almost immediately before I said it. I was going to say it looks like we're picking up right where we left off, but Thursday and Friday was actually pretty good for rates. Monday was not. Monday was not a good day, unfortunately. But still, I welcome you all to the Tuesday edition of Wilmington Mortgage. I am the aforementioned host of this podcast, Tyler Cralle, of course, loan officer at Town Bank Mortgage right here in Wilmington, North Carolina, where we break down the top stories impacting mortgage rates every single weekday, unless I'm sick, on vacation, or it's the Azalea Festival. And since it's neither, here we are. But yeah, it wasn't a great day for rates, and I bet you can tell me why. That's right. Oil markets, concern over oil prices, pushed rates up, to some extent erasing the losses that we saw on Thursday and Friday, because we did see some good movement on Thursday. We did see some good movement on Friday, but that was not the case on Monday. And it is jobs week, so we did talk about what's going to be happening this week, but it's very easy for what is happening this week to get overshadowed by what's happening in oil markets and what's happening in the Middle East. And so it's that's the unfortunate reality is we could have just killer labor market data, at least for rates, and it still might not impact markets the way it normally would because of what's happening in the Middle East. So let's start with what happened on Sunday. So we got the announcement from President Trump that, I'm assuming in an attempt to lower oil prices, the president wanted to help convince markets that there was going to be some stability in the Strait of Hormuz. That's at least what I'm thinking. So President Donald Trump said that the U.S. will move to protect and help evacuate stranded vessels in the Strait of Hormuz. Trump announced an initiative dubbed Project Freedom, aimed at assisting civilian ships stuck in the region. The effort, which was set to begin Monday, will focus on vessels flagged in countries not directly involved in the conflict, allowing them to, quote, freely and ably get on with their business. I have told my representatives, the president said, that we will use best efforts to get their ships and crews safely out of the strait. Now, the plan remained vague, and the president did not outline how the U.S. would carry out the operation or what role military forces would play in securing that passage. But that was the announcement that happened on, I want to say it was like mid-Sunday, somewhere around there, like mid to late Sunday. And then we started off Monday with Iran potentially, I guess, maybe reacting to that announcement from President Trump. And they were like, no, we're going to create more chaos in the Strait of Hormuz as Iran launched missiles and drone attacks on U.S. vessels and key infrastructure in the UAE. According to the United States Central Command, Iran fired cruise missiles and other projectiles at U.S. warships and commercial vessels as the U.S. moved to help ships navigate the Strait of Hormuz. Sailors reported drone strikes on tankers and military aircraft operating in the area. The U.S. was not alone. The UAE was directly targeted. Officials said 4 missiles and multiple drones were launched toward the country, with at least one drone striking the major oil hub Fujara? I think I'm saying that, Fujara, sparking a fire at the critical export facility. And so we have the president announcing a plan to bring about some stability in the straits, and then Iran's reaction was to make it even more chaotic because, I mean, the strait is really all they have. Their economy is getting hammered by the day. It's getting worse, multitudes worse every single day. just awful. They don't really have much with regards to a military. They don't have much. I mean, they really don't have anything. They have control of the Strait of Hormuz because of, geography. And so they are going to utilize that to the best of their ability. It's all they have. And so anytime the president or anyone is trying to bring about stability, Iran obviously wants the opposite, which is ongoing chaos. Because, their goal their goal is to hopefully outlast public opinion. They can't win, right? They can't. The United States and Israel, just one of those countries they'd probably be hard-pressed to go up against, but both of them working together, they can't win. So their goal is to kind of just hold off long enough that at least in the U.S., and even Israel, that public opinion shifts enough where they're just tired of it, that it could lead to either one or both of the countries pulling out. And so that's really, that really seems like that's what Iran's goal is just to keep hanging on. And now the other problem, though, is that everyone just assumes they can do this, in perpetuity because of the sort of authoritarian power of the government. But, even the most authoritative government, there are people. And if the economy gets bad enough, if people are in that dire straits, they will rise up. And so it is sort of a dangerous play for Iran, saying, all right, we're just going to hold on to the Strait of Hormuz, keep causing problems there. Because, their economy is just getting hammered so bad. And so, this could be looked at really as a sign of desperation, that, they're just running out of options. And so any attempt to create any kind of stability, they're just going to, like I said, it's all they got. And so that obviously pushed up oil prices. Nothing crazy, but enough, like I said, to wipe out some of the gains that we saw at the end of last week. So we had the 10-year was up, let me make sure I get accurate, up just over 5 basis points. So we're now at 4.43%. That's the highest level since the end of March. And let me just double check my numbers. Yeah, so if you go back, that's really when the uncertainty of Iran really caused things to pop up. That was the highest level since July of last year. So we saw a spike in the beginning of the war. Things kind of calmed back down, but now prices are back up. And at least, like I said, yields are back up. And now we're back to levels that we haven't seen since March, but then also July of last year. Now, I did see something. I can't remember who it was now. But with what we've seen happen with the 10-year, because we have the 30-year. The 30-year was up as well. Mortgage News Daily's 30-year fixed rate index had the 30-year up 12 basis points. That's another 12 basis point jump. We saw the same thing happen last week. Rates are now at the highest level that they've been since also the end of March, when things once again spiked because of the beginning of the Iran war. And that, of course, very similar, highest level that we've seen since July. But it was noted that because one of the most important parts of just figuring out mortgage rates is the spread that exists between the 10-year yield and the 30-year yield. And historically, it's been about 175, 185 basis points. During the spike in interest rates that we saw in 22 and 23, we saw that spread get as big as 300 basis points. And someone was noting that at the worst of it, if we were using that spread, mortgage rates would be 8%. And instead, they're at, according to Mortgage News Daily, a little bit over 6.5. So take it into context. So it's like, dang, upset about mortgage rates rising, but it could be worse, is the point. It could be a lot worse. And so I will take high 6s versus an 8 handle any day of the week and twice on Sunday. Now, there was another interesting development in a story that we have talked about many times here on the program, and that's the ongoing drama between the Department of Justice and the Federal Reserve. Now, this appeared to have been settled when Jeanine Pirro, the U.S. attorney, announced that they would be passing the Powell investigation over to the Inspector General, and that was enough for Tom Tillis to move Kevin Warsh's nomination out of the Banking Committee to a full Senate vote. It looks like he is going to have the votes. Powell, while happy about the development, still said that he was going to stay on the board because he wasn't 100% convinced about the Fed's independence. But there was an update to that story on Monday. Jeanine Pirro, U.S. attorney, said that she is stepping back from her legal battle to continue a criminal investigation into the Federal Reserve. Pirro asked a federal judge to vacate earlier decisions that limited her probe into the Fed chair, Jerome Powell, but in doing so, abandoned a previously stated plan to take the fight to a higher court. Chief Judge James Boasberg squashed Pirro's subpoenas in March and then upheld that ruling in April, saying that she had not shown sufficient evidence of wrongdoing and raising concerns the probe could be politically motivated. Now, as I said, that investigation, now Pirro said at the time she was going to continue to fight and, hopefully be victorious on that. But she then pulled back on the investigation, sending it to the Inspector General. And so it kind of makes sense to some extent that she would then also pull back on this appeal because it's not necessary. And I think it was it Peter Conti Brown who said that he thinks that the argument from Pirro about the possibility of reopening the investigation is more of just sort of face-saving argument than an actual action that could possibly happen. That there's no way that Pirro would ever end up reopening this negotiation. However, Pirro on Sunday did say that if the Inspector General found anything wrong, she would reopen the investigation. But once again, I think that's kind of a face-saving argument as well, because it's unlikely that the Inspector General is going to find any wrongdoing. And I'm not saying I agree with how much it's costing to fix those buildings. I don't know anything about construction, so I don't, especially historic buildings. So it does seem like a lot of money. But the idea that, Powell was some sort of trickster or something along those lines is just very comical from my perspective. So more than likely nothing will happen there. And that didn't have any real impact on rates. Kind of going along with what we knew. Real quick here, we all watched the Kentucky Derby this weekend. Most people found a way to gamble, even though North Carolina, you can't gamble on horse racing. Many people found a way to still do it. But it may have sparked your interest in gambling more. And I will tell you, there's a new study out from the Wall Street Journal looking at these prediction markets, which a lot of people are going to. And I can't caution enough. Don't do that. Don't go to these prediction markets. Like I said, there's a great piece over at the Wall Street Journal in which, this analysis is insane. On Polymarket, the Journal found 67% of profits go to just 0.1% of accounts. That means less than 2,000 accounts netted a total of nearly $500 million. The Journal analyzed 1.6 million Polymarket accounts that have traded since November 2022. There are at least 2.3 million total accounts on the site. Now, proponents say that the markets, these prediction markets, don't count as gambling and that they harness the wisdom of crowds. And in fact, Federal Reserve research has shown that Cralle, I think that's how you say it, is an effective tool to forecast economic trends. But those data, those numbers are very similar to a lot of betting sites, not just prediction markets, where if you look, the overwhelming majority of accounts lose money and never take money out. Now, a lot of people do it just for fun, make games more exciting, and I get that. But there are, the Journal starts the article talking about some guy who was looking to actually make money in the, he'd hurt himself. He was like a line cook, and he took out a loan and started making bets and kind of built up a little bit of a reserve and then lost it all on one bet. And so If you're looking just to have some fun, it's money that you can lose, whatever, do it. But if it's people out there looking to find a way to actually make money, like income, I would not do that. I would not recommend that. Not a financial advisor, but the data is pretty bad. Pretty bad. All right, we're done. We got, I'm sorry. It is jobs week. So tomorrow we got, this whole week, a lot of labor market data. Tomorrow we do have our first look at the labor market. We're going to be getting job openings, which are expected to rise slightly. I actually don't have the numbers in front of me. I probably should have. But so we will be getting job market data, labor market data. I don't know if it's going to overpower what's happening in the Middle East. I guess if it's extreme one way or another, definitely. But if it's just sort of marginal changes, it's more than likely the Middle East will continue to dictate what happens with rates, like we saw on Monday. But you guys enjoy the rest of, well, not the rest of your Monday. You're hearing this, it's already Tuesday. So enjoy your Tuesday. We'll be back here Wednesday. I'm still having a hard time with the whole, when am I recording it and when am I actually releasing it? You guys enjoy your Tuesday. We'll be back here Wednesday for another edition of Wilmington Mortgage. And remember, as always, do not wait to buy real estate. You buy real estate and wait.